on 100 milligrams of test prop per week split into everyday administrations, this is what the LCMS MS version gave me in terms of my total T. What's up guys, Derek, moreplates.moredates.com. I wanted to do a quick video going over what my testosterone level was on 100 milligrams of test prop split into everyday sub-Q administrations with an insulin pen. So a lot of you guys follow my TRT updates, and as you may or may not know, on my most recent update, I talked about how I had lowered my TRT down to 100 milligrams per week of test prop split into everyday administration sub-Q. The microdosing every day was to try and achieve stable blood serum concentrations, less aromatization, more free testosterone. It's just the closest thing you can get to replicating what would otherwise be healthy endogenous secretion of testosterone, in my opinion, if you just so happen to have perfectly healthy function as a, non-suppressed male. And, a lot of people will say, well, you would probably have more stable blood serum concentrations with a long ester like an anthate. And yeah, the reason why I opt for short esters is because it gives me more leniency in terms of like, if I need to pull something in order to do an experiment for hair loss prevention or for some health marker in particular, it allows me to change a variable very quickly rather than have to wait for a very long half-life clearance of, like several weeks for a hormone to clear the system kind of thing. And you might be wondering, why would you want your testosterone to clear the system? Well, some of my experiments are kind of weird. So anyways, as far as the testosterone itself for what I would consider my therapeutic TRT, on 100 milligrams every week of prop split into everyday administration sub-Q, I was kind of surprised, to be honest, because basically I've been trying to titrate down to see basically what's the lowest amount I can get away with without withering away, without losing high quality of life in terms of, good libido, good, state of well-being, no brain fog, etc. And my old TRT regimen, like at the very beginning, was 200 milligrams of test E per week, which was too much. I had blood values pretty much on mini cycles. So over the course of however long now, I've basically slowly titrated down and trying to get as low as I can possibly get, because it goes without saying, once you get past therapeutic territories, the higher you push your androgen levels up, you're just exacerbating potential health ramifications in the future. So I'm trying to see how, far down I can bring it before I kind of level out in terms of, risk to reward and whatnot. So as far as where that put me, finally get into it here. Oh, as you may or may not know too, a lot of guys, they're getting the inaccurate assay of their testosterone. It's giving a completely skewed reading. So if you don't know, the typical default for total testosterone is extremely inaccurate, and I can't even differentiate between analogs of testosterone, derivatives of testosterone, 19 NORs, things like that. Like, you could go take a blood test with nandrolone only in your system and have it register as total testosterone and show that you're healthy and in range. So it's just a terrible, inaccurate test. So always opt for the liquid chromatography tandem mass spectrometry test, the LCMS version, which costs a bit more, but it's worth it to actually see what's going on. So on 100 milligrams of test prop per week split into everyday administrations, this is what the LCMS MS version gave me in terms of my total T. So it was 465.4 nanograms per deciliter on a reference range of 264 to 916. So frankly, I was a bit surprised. I thought it was going to be closer to 600 to 700, and I was kind of shooting for 700. Was I want to be on the high end of normal. I don't want to be teetering into mini cycle territory, but in terms of the therapeutic reference range, I think it's perfectly acceptable to walk around on the high end, 700, 800, and not really put yourself in severe harm's way over and above what you would already experience at 500, 600. Not saying there's an inherent risk or anything. I'm just saying I don't think there's significantly worse outcomes when you have a high, in the therapeutic reference range versus like dead in the middle. And that's just my educated guess though. So I would shoot for probably, like, we're still trying to weigh out quality of life versus quantity. And there has to be some happy medium here. You can't just be like, okay, I'm going to like make myself like feel like crap and have low T just so I can like potentially not exacerbate cardiovascular disease or something. There's like a balance that I'm still trying to achieve too, regardless of my shift in priorities over the past few years. So ideally I would have wanted like a 700 or something like that. A lot of people are going to say, well, total doesn't really matter. Frankly, I think you would be best served by shooting for a high-end free and a high-end total, because there is data that suggests that free testosterone isn't necessarily, while it is the, usable free testosterone, it's literally what it is, it doesn't necessarily mean total can't have some sort of impact on physiological functions when you're accounting for the SHBG bound as well as albumin bound. Like, there's weakly bound T that can have some sort of physiological impact and other sort of factors that don't really get accounted for when you go into this free measurement. And the problem with the free measurement too is it's really inaccurate. Like, it's notorious for being very all over the map. So that's why I like to take the LCMS version of the total as well as the free into account, because I would just be more comfortable having them both on the high end of normal, to be honest. And this is more of a niched scenario, but some people will get a blood test and they'll show they're high normal, and they'll take another one with all the same kind of like factors in their lifestyle and have like a totally different reading. So I feel like the total LCMS is something that is good to have as a reference point regardless. And I think having both values on the high end of normal is just ideal in terms of guaranteeing you're where you want to be. So now getting into the free testosterone, mine was 19.6 picograms per milliliter in a reference range of 9.3 to 26.5. I think this number is a lot more ideal. This is like, it's not exactly where I'd want it. I'd probably want it closer to, 24, 25, to be honest. At least like low 20s or like, 21, 22, 23 at minimum. So 19.6 is a bit low, but it's certainly better than my 465, which is like not even halfway of the reference range. So what's this go to show? This goes to show that my test prop dose, I think, can be increased, and I don't think there's going to be a significantly detrimental impact by me doing so, other than potentially exacerbating hair loss more, which is not something I'm super interested in, to be honest. So I'm not really 100% sure what I'm going to do, but the fact that I've even maintained what I've maintained on this dose to me is kind of crazy. And in addition, my estradiol, just for your reference, estradiol sensitive assay version was 23.8 picograms per milliliter, which is solid. It's like dead in the middle, and it gives me some leeway. Evidently gives me a decent amount of leeway when it comes to, if I do decide to increase my test dose, I would also increase the amount of aromatization in my body. But because I'm only at 23.8, it gives me a solid 11 picograms before I'm even at the top end of the reference range. So getting closer to 30 is kind of like where I think is usually where I feel best, to be honest. And I think this set puts me in a position where I could probably add another, 25 milligrams to my weekly dosage or something like that, and then reevaluate with more blood work. But anyway, so that's my blood work on 100 milligrams per week, split into everyday sub-Q administration of test prop. Hope it was interesting. Take from that what you will. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, drop a comment, helps the algorithm out. Check me out on Instagram at moreplates_more dates, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, etc. Talk to you guys soon.